What's up, YouTube? And I feel pretty confident in saying that this week we are highlighting some pretty glaringly obvious because we do the research, invest cards for the week, buoyed by a couple of the most promising young receivers in all of football and the ultimate MLB youngsters under 25 first Bowman debate possible heading into 2025. Thanks for joining us for episode 29 of the Cardboard Critics Sports Card Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Mr. Hollywood. That's Joe Nasty to my right. It's Invest Cards of the Week time. And before we start, as always, disclaimer. The views expressed in this show are solely our opinions and do not constitute investment advice. Please consult a professional advisor for any investment decisions. My lawyer makes me say that.
Good job.
But let's jump right in for this week, starting with Puka Nacua.
Nailed it.
Better known as Puka Nacua. Wide receiver for the LA Rambos. His 2023 Prism Silver rookie card in the PSA 10 is down 77.3% over the past year to $75 per card. This was a $300 card at its peak. Was a three-figure card the majority of the time until his knee injury earlier this year. 2024, he's played in 9 games, 61 catches for 1,500, no, sorry, I read the wrong line. 61 catches for 805 yards, that'd be remarkable.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, 61 catches for 805 yards and 3 touchdowns.
But what would that mean?
That pace over a full season would be around 100 catches for 1,500 yards, there it is, and 6 touchdowns approximately.
I see.
Puka Nacua is the clear option number 1 in a crowded Rams offense.
Yeah.
After Cooper Kupp put up a fat 0 last week against the Niners.
On the Thursday game?
Yeah.
That was an ugly offensive game.
Yeah, it was. Puka has shown the ability to make incredible catches. He's an elite route runner.
Yes.
Matt Stafford is still an elite arm.
Mm-hmm.
You look at Justin Jefferson, $435 for his Prism Silver in a PSA 10 rookie card.
Yeah.
You look at Jamar Chase, $180 for his Prism Silver in a PSA 10.
That much difference, huh?
Honestly, I don't think. Honestly, first of all, I think there may be value in the Chase price too.
Yeah,
but I don't think Puka should be $75. And I think there's value in Puka Nacua at $75. I don't know why I don't know why the trend continues to be down on Puka Nacua. He is clearly better than Cooper Kupp at this point, for the most part, right? Again, like we said earlier, the Rams are a show-me team. They are a flashy team.
Yeah.
They got a big arm still behind center. I think Puka Nacua at $75, to me, this card is a buy.
Yeah, I'm not sure I've agreed with you stronger on any of these questions. I think Puka's great. He pulls off spectacular catches truly every game that he plays in. And a lot of it comes down to his incredibly strong hands. Like, the way he catches the ball.
It's crazy.
At the point. Like, how did he get to BYU, first and foremost? The only thing that held him back this year is the injury he suffered in week 1. Missed a couple games, he's come back, and he's done very well. On top of that, there's been some team inconsistency around him. Offensive line, running game. Like you said, Cooper Kupp. Stafford's still a very good quarterback, but old. You could argue, and maybe this is obvious, and I'm just saying this, that he's the 3rd best receiver in the NFL.
Yeah, I 100% I think you could argue it.
And then you could probably say he is the most complete receiver, considering his physicality and what he does in the run game. Because, as we know, over the years now, since 2016, Sean McVay loves to use those receivers in the run game. So it's his strength and his complete ability, not as a wide receiver. Jefferson...
I would say, I understand what you're saying.
Right.
I would say, is what you're saying kind of like he's the highest floor receiver in the NFL?
No, not even. I'm just saying if you're asking for like the full table service of a wide receiver, because like you got to block on the outside sometimes. Sometimes you got to get in there and act as sort of like a pseudo tight end in the running game. You're not going to ask Justin Jefferson to do that, which is fine. Because if your question is going to be, I need a deep ball, I need it's 3rd and 7, I need a receiver to get me that first down, I probably then choose Justin Jefferson or Jamar first.
Yeah.
But in terms of what makes an offense complete, you could argue that Puka Nacua is more that guy for you. That's sort of the argument, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
By the way, did you see the coming together with him and Fred Warner after the game on Thursday? Two BYU guys, both super handsome, both of them with like really amazing hair, just chatting. It was a really cool moment there.
Yeah.
I didn't realize Fred Warner went to BYU. Like those are two of the best players at their position.
Yeah, it's interesting they went to BYU.
Yeah, BYU.
Yeah, exactly. BYU.
No, I love Puka. Yeah. $75 is a steal.
Yeah, I was saying more floor, like in terms of fantasy wise.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Because but I think the fantasy stats also translate to real world in a way, because like Puka Nacua is gonna pretty consistently, if you're in a 1-point PPR league, gonna put up like 16 to 20 points a game as a floor.
Sure.
Right? Whereas Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase might have more 40-point games.
Right.
But they'll also have more like 10-point games or 15-point games than Puka.
Like a coverage could take them out, whereas Puka's going to come at you in a variety of different ways.
Exactly.
I mean, this is the guy, all he's done is set rookie records 1 year.
Sure.
Then come in and set paces for a really good year.
Exactly.
In his next year. Yeah.
Exactly. But moving on to invest card number 2 of the week, we're staying right here in the NFL with wide receivers, and that is Jamar Chase.
Might as well.
Yeah, Cincinnati Bengals, of course, WR1, his 2021 absolute kaboom. We're going to use the kaboom for this one. In a PSA 9 is up to $800 per card. This was a $700 card at the start of the season. I don't know if you guys remember, we bought a Jamar Chase kaboom in a PSA 9 for, I believe, high sixes or mid sixes or something.
Really?
At the Burbank Card Show a few months ago, anticipating a big year from Jamar Chase. Well, what has he done in 2024? He has caught 93 balls so far for 1,319 yards and 15 touchdowns.
Wow.
He has 44 touchdowns so far in his career. He's on pace for 49 to finish this year.
Wow.
In his career in just 58 games to score 44 so far. Just to compare, in his first 4 seasons, Jerry Rice scored 49 touchdowns in his first 4 seasons. Jamar Chase is on pace to tie that. I find Jamar Chase's kaboom prices compared to Puka Nacua's kaboom prices to be very, very interesting. We're going to put some graphics on your screen because the Jamar Chase PSA 9 does $800, while Puka's raw kaboom, not even graded, which most raw cards will do around a PSA 9 price, Puka's raw does $1,200. That is backwards to me. It should be the other way around. We look at Puka's PSA 10. We'll throw another graphic on your screen now. Puka's PSA 10 of the kaboom does $2,300. While Jamar's does just $1,600. Again, this is backwards. It should be the other way around.
Yeah.
The silver prices, I think, favor buying Puka, which we talked about earlier, but the kaboom prices clearly favor buying Jamar.
Yeah.
I think that this might be one of the most special quarterback wide receiver combinations that we will ever see. I'm talking about Burrow and Chase, assuming that the Bengals can extend Jamar Chase. It's going to take the biggest wide receiver contract in the history of football to do it, but I think they have to do it. In my opinion, he's the best receiver in the NFL because he is backed by, in my opinion, the best quarterback in the NFL thrower-wise. I think Joe Burrow is the best throwing quarterback in the NFL. I just do. Justin Jefferson, maybe he's more talented of a receiver, but he doesn't have Joe Burrow. He has Sam Darnold, who
had Kirk
Cousins, right? Burrow and Chase are essentially ready to put up Hall of Fame stats, right? Going forward, if they do end up having a lot of time together, which is to be seen, it really just comes down to the Bengals' defense. If the Bengals had a defense, this would be like Brady to Moss or like Montana to Rice type of offensive numbers is what you're going to see from these two. So in my opinion, I'm buying the Puka Silver, but I'm buying the Jamar Chase Kaboom, because I actually think it's very undervalued.
And I'm with you on those opinions for sure. It seems like the reverse of what it should be.
Right.
The special thing about this connection, right, is that it goes back to LSU, right? That unbelievable offense with Burrow to Chase, but it was in Baton Rouge on their way to cakewalking, essentially. Well, it was a tough schedule.
It was.
They just made it look easy.
Yeah.
The way they steamrolled through the college football landscape that year. So that's what makes it really special. But the value could and maybe will go down if, like you said, he doesn't come back to the Bengals, which
I can't imagine that happening. I just can't.
I don't know. It's just weird. The whole thing has been weird. Like T. Higgins is probably gone. As we talked about this last week.
Yeah, Higgins is gone because they need to pay Jamar Chase.
Right. And so without another really good receiver on the other side, maybe that affects Chase also. Like, again, Chase is really, really, really good. Joe Burrow is really, 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 really good. I think they should be fine. But if he leads the team, who knows? Without T. Higgins, who knows? And on top of that, I just want to note, in the whole Justin Jefferson thing, how good is Justin Jefferson, though, that, yes, Joe Burrow is great, and Jamar Chase individually would probably be having these kind of moments regardless, but Justin Jefferson has had some schlep throwing him the ball, kind of, if you think about it, and he still is in this conversation.
I mean, Darnold is not a schlep.
He's not.
And neither is Cousins.
But who are they not? They're not Joe Burrow.
No, but Cousins did air it out a lot.
He did. But who would you rather have?
I mean, it's not about who I'd rather have.
I'm not a big Kirk Cousins guy, period. And I like Sam Darnold. But the fact that Justin Jefferson is in this conversation with those guys throwing him the ball says a lot about who he is as a receiver.
It's true. There's no doubt that Joe Burrow has a lot more talent than either of those guys.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
No doubt.
So, but Jamar Chase is excellent.
Yeah. So Jamar Chase, kaboom, in a PSA 9 or 10, Puka Nacua in that Prism Silver. Go get it.
For sure.
This is not investment advice.
We think it would be a good idea.
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. I'm not saying you should do it. It would be a good idea.
It'd be super sick.
Let's move to Invest Card 3 of the week. Well, it's not really one card. It's kind of a debate on
it's like, take your pick.
6 cards. We're going to talk about MLB youngsters under the age of 25, specifically their first Bowman autographs. And specifically for this comparison, we're going to talk about Juan Soto, Fernando Tatis Jr., Julio Rodriguez, Gunnar Henderson, Bobby Witt Jr., and Ellie De La Cruz. These 6 marquee, I would say, players under the age of 25 and their first Bowman autographs, all in PSA 10 condition.
It's like your go-to young outfielders and your go-to young shortstops.
Yeah, basically. Keep in mind, these are all PSA 10s. Juan Soto right now is sitting at $3,000. Fernando Tatis sitting at $515. J-Rod sitting at $960. Gunnar sitting at $790. Bobby Witt Jr. sitting at $1,200. And Ellie De La Cruz right behind him at $1,100. These are all prices over the last 90 days. I like 90 days because it's enough time to show where the trend is kind of headed for, I think, in the offseason, but not long enough to reach too far into the season, which is obviously when prices tend to be elevated and escalated, especially in the case of someone like, say, Bobby Witt Jr., who had a crazy second half of the year. I would say first and foremost, I was going to say I'm not sure why Fernando Tatis is here, but I know why he's here. It's because I put him here.
Yeah, there was a very easy way for him not to be there.
Yeah, there was an easy way, and it was just Mr. Hollywood. Just don't put Fernando Tatis in this, but I did because he's under 25.
I'm not going to do it.
Let's be honest, he's a superstar. But
how did that happen?
He's a superstar because he did steroids, and thus no one will ever care about his cards. So we can just take Fernando Tatis cards and throw them out the window. Right. So for me, out the window, especially if they're still $596 a card or something. Mm-hmm. $515 a card? Yeah, no thanks. But the question becomes, where are you putting your money for 2025 if you had to pick one? If you had to pick one of these guys.
It's tough.
I'm going to ask you first.
Okay.
Who you would pick.
I'm going to start by saying this. I I don't think people care about Tatis's PEDs anymore, unfortunately.
They do, because I have Tatis cards that I've been trying to sell for ages,
so?
and no one buys them.
I feel like he's still very popular, and I feel like especially in that NLDS, people are like, oh my god, he's so fun. He's back to being so electric. This guy's so great. I think the big issue with Tatis is that the team is looking to shed talent and salary. Like Xander Bogaerts, if they'll eat that contract, will be on the move, and Dylan Cease is back on the market again.
True.
I think that's the biggest issue with the Padres. You know I love Julio Rodriguez.
I know you do.
I love him so much. That being said...
He loves his eyes.
Oh my God. They're beautiful. But this year, you said for 2025.
Yeah, for 2025. For next season.
I think it has to be Juan Soto or Bobby Witt Jr.
The two most expensive ones.
Now, did you ask me the best value or who I'm taking?
I'm asking you which one are you investing in? That's the point of the show.
I know, but I think Juan Soto will, despite what you think about the contract...
No. We're talking about which one are you buying?
Probably Bobby Witt. Soto at 3,000 is crazy, but I think he's going to have the best year out of all these guys.
Obviously.
Right. Well, the people are kind of clouded by the contract. People don't like the contract, but there's a reason.
You think there's more run in Bobby Witt Jr. over $1,200?
I do, because I think last year he was literally the most viable player in the AL. By the literal definition, he meant the most to that mediocre-ass team in Kansas City. And you said it, the second half was special. And I think there's more in the tank. So I think Bobby Witt could really explode this year in terms of value. We talked about it, I think, 2 weeks ago with Gunnar. I'm not feeling very good about Gunnar. I didn't love... Yes, I know it was 3 days. But that October left a really bad taste in my mouth. And I don't love how the Orioles are kind of going about this offseason either. So that's where I'm at. Ellie's a little bit too much variety. Julio had a down year, and the Mariners don't do anything at the moment.
Yeah.
So I think it's kind of...
Does timing come into play when you're picking one of these?
How do you mean?
Would your thoughts change if, say, something happened in a couple weeks and some of these teams made some moves that surrounded people with more players or whatnot?
Sure. If Gunnar had another piece protecting him that wasn't Adley Rush, because he no longer has Santander at this point.
Right.
So if they added another big bat, which I don't think they're going to do, I think they're focusing on pitching solely at the moment. If I felt good about the consistencies of Ellie De La Cruz, I would go there. And again, if the Mariners, God forbid, actually supported Julio Rodriguez in that lineup. Now, he had a relatively down year as well, by his standards. So if he actually had some protection behind him that I felt good about, then I would probably jump all over the J-Rod train. But at the moment, I don't see that happening at all with the Mariners.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting you say that because my argument's basically based on that whole scenario. Okay. Because I would take probably, if you ask me today, I can't give you an exact answer, but I would probably be leaning towards Julio Rodriguez or Gunnar Henderson because I think both have the most upside of the players on this list for the most part.
Yeah,
Juan
I think
Soto
Witt has the most upside.
Juan Soto isn't going to surprise you with anything he does anymore. And this is a $3,000 card. I think the Mets are just in total chaos as of today. Now, we're not done with the offseason yet, right? But I think J-Rod and Gunnar have the most upside in terms of being able to make runs in October if they can get there. But it's the next few weeks that would determine who I would pick. Like you said, the Mariners need to give J-Rod offensive help. They have probably the best rotation in the majors, or one of the top 3 rotations in the majors for sure.
Looking to deal Luis Castillo.
Look, even dealing Luis Castillo, they would still have one of the top 4 or 5 rotations in baseball, hands down. The Orioles obviously need to give Gunnar some pitching help. They need to either re-sign Corbin Burns or find another way to pick up some quality starters along the way. I do not think Adley Rutschman. I think Adley Rutschman is super overrated. But in my opinion, I don't think Gunnar really gets much lower than $700 this offseason. And to me, J-Rod is probably, outside of Juan Soto, he's kind of like they're all kind of all-world talents. Let's be honest.
They are in the majors.
They are. But I feel like every single one of these players has like a huge glaring hole for the most part.
Yeah.
Except for maybe Bobby Witt Jr. I don't think Bobby Witt Jr. has like a glaring hole. Hits for average, plays stellar defense, hits for power, has speed, has a great arm.
Yeah.
Like Bobby Witt Jr. is kind of truly not the jack of all trades, but the master of all. Right? He's he's statistically oriented, the best player on this list in terms of like, let's fill out the stat line to make a team better or be more valuable to my team.
Precisely.
L.A. De La Cruz, strikeout machine, right? Bobby Witt Jr. does play in Kansas City.
But that's if your biggest detriment is your TV market, then
Yeah. Yeah.
He was still an MVP finalist.
Again, like we talked about, though, no one cares about Tatis. Gunnar fills up the stat line, too. And he is on a great team. He steals bases. He hits for decent average.
Yeah, 280 is nothing to sneeze at.
He hits for power, drives and runs, plays decent defense.
Just not compared to Witt.
Not compared to Witt, right? Which to me, these as the only two cards, as the only two realistic cards, aside from Fernando Tatis, that are under $1,000 on this list, that have the upside. Like Bobby Witt Jr. has already tapped into a bit of the upside, right? This was a $1,600 card at one point in September of this year, just a few months ago. Juan Soto obviously has already tapped into the upside. Ellie De La Cruz already kind of is into the upside without even having really done anything. It's just more the recent hype.
Yeah.
But Julio and Gunnar, to me, haven't reached the 1,000+ upside. At one point, they were there. Julio was, for sure.
Yeah.
But, so to me, I think I'm looking at those two, but I'm really paying attention to what these teams do in the offseason to kind of surround them and put them in a place to be successful in 2025.
Yeah, I really don't trust the Mariners in that regards. I think the Orioles want to. I just don't know if they... I don't know what the Orioles are doing, to be honest.
We'll find out.
Yeah, only one way to find out.
Yeah, there's only one way to find out, and that's
live that life.
And it's just let time go and live that life. But that's a wrap for this week's episode of the Cardboard Critics Sports Card Podcast. We thank you for joining us for this week's show. If you enjoyed it, like, comment, and subscribe to the channel down below and ring that notification bell. If you do, good things will happen, aka we stay in your lives forever and ever. Otherwise, we'll get fired like anyone who coaches the Lakers. So until next time, I'm Mr. Hollywood. That is Joe Nasty, and we'll see all of your beautiful faces next week. The boys out.